Today we're going to take a look at this shit.
I am talking about a teacher leading everybody, or a principal, an administrator of the school leading the prayer.
I think that should be up to every school board. If they want to do that, they can. I know that they do that. They teach the Bible in some schools in the South. I know they do in Mississippi. I don't know if they do here in Alabama.
No, you shouldn't be teaching the Bible in public schools at all. Mississippi doesn't allow the teaching of the Bible in school. That particular bill got struck down, although Alabama did pass a bill for Bible literacy, which I am completely ashamed of. Before getting into our video today, I just wanted to point out that the public school system is not meant for pushing faith on children. The public school system is provided at the cost of the government, and the First Amendment plainly dictates that the government should not push any one religion on the public it governs. Teaching the Bible or Christianity in any capacity other than history or a general religious studies class should not be allowed. Engel v. Vitale and Edmonton School District v. Shimp established that school-led prayer or Bible readings are unconstitutional. This means that anybody that tries to pass a law that would violate these two Supreme Court cases and the First Amendment would just cost the school district time and money that they simply don't have. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get to Frank's question.
What do you think about school prayer or bringing in religious leaders into a school and requiring all the students to come?
I think that kind of thing is good for education. Think about this, whether you're a Christian or an atheist. The most important question any human being can address is, does God exist? Why?
I don't think that should be a concern of the child. But also, if a parent thinks it should be a concern, it should be a discussion between the parent and their children. It's not the school system's responsibility to force a religion on these children. The situation that you just described is a direct violation of the First Amendment and the two aforementioned court cases. Turek is just a dipshit for suggesting that it's a good idea. One, because I don't think that Frank Turek would really want somebody of a different Christian denomination, whether that be Catholic or a different Protestant denomination, to be influencing the faith of his child. And two, it would just cost the school system a lot of money that it doesn't have. Religious leaders are there to do one thing. That's to lead people in their faith or to their faith. If you want to educate people on religions, you don't get religious leaders to do that. You would get an actual teacher to teach the information about the religion, not the truth value of the religion. Also, what if they brought in a polytheist or a Muslim to teach about their faith? I mean, they're there to present their religion as the one true religion or the one true faith, not just the bare information about the religion. Another thing to note is that people like Frank Turek would lose their ever-loving shit if a Muslim walked into a public school and started teaching kids about Islam. We've seen it many times before when teachers just present information about Islam.
Because if God exists, there's a right way to live, there's a purpose to life. If God doesn't exist, there's no necessarily right way to live. You can live any way you want because there's no purpose to life. And right now, our school system is built upon the premise that God does not exist. Yet the most important academic question and existential question for any human being is, does God exist?
He says people can live however they want, like it's a bad thing. I mean, fuck those people for living how they want to live. They should live how I want to live. Just because people can live however they want to live doesn't mean that there's no purpose to life. That's just a non sequitur. And I've covered this particular topic before in my William Lane Craig video where we discuss whether or not life is absurd without God. It's just a ridiculous assertion to make. The right way to live is a very ambiguous thing to say. The phrase implies that there's a single right way in order to live your life, when in reality there are multiple different ways in order to live your life, and it's perfectly fine. None of them are the absolute correct way to live your life because that particular criteria just simply doesn't exist. Again, fuck those people for living differently than me. Also, the most important academic question is not whether or not God exists. I would say that's a religious question, not an academic one. You're just completely absurd all around.
Our founding document, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men were created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and governments instituted among men, not to give these rights, not to take them away, but to secure them. We ought to be teaching that everyone is made in the image of God, that our Creator has endowed us with certain unalienable rights, and the reason that you ought to treat people well is because they're made in the image and likeness of God. We ought to be teaching that in schools.
No, we shouldn't be teaching all of the children in public schools that we are made in the image of God. While it's not establishing a religion, it's definitely theological in nature, implies creationism, and would alienate those that disagree with the notion. Public schools are for everyone, not just you, Frank. Using the all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator to push for a Christian version of God doesn't make sense at all. For one thing, the Declaration of Independence isn't what created our government. There's actually a whole other government that exists between the Declaration of Independence and our current government. Second, obviously the Founding Fathers didn't think that all men are created equal because they knowingly chose not to address slavery in the Constitution. Using this statement as a universal civil rights declaration in light of you thinking that it's claiming the Christian version of God just doesn't make sense. Because not even your version of God considers all men to be created equally. It specifically says in the Bible that people of other faiths and nations are of lower value than Christians. In the Old Testament, he lays out laws for enslaving people of other nations. He obviously doesn't mean that all men are created equal. Finally, the Bible has a lot of in-group mentality in it. God specifically forbids mixed faith marriages, and one of the major problems in the Old Testament were the Israelites allowing people of other faiths to worship in Israel and Judah. This alone makes the entire point of the Constitution antithetical to any biblical message.
That's not establishing a church. That is reflecting our founding document. We're not telling people they have to be a certain religion or they have to go to a certain church or they have to, engage in certain rites or rituals. We're simply saying this is how our country was founded. It's founded on theism and God-given moral rights, and we ought to be teaching that.
No, we shouldn't be teaching that in public schools, Frank. You're correct that it's not establishing a religion, but it's definitely using the government to push a religion on children, and that's a direct violation of the First Amendment. You can't do that. As I said before, the Declaration of Independence is not a document that created our current government system. Using it because it's a founding document to justify teaching God in schools because you think that it founded our government, it's just bass-ackwards. It just shows that you have no idea what you're talking about and you're willing to twist the facts in order to suit your evangelical needs. Our country was founded in spite of the religious rhetoric that was preaching about how we should not be separating from England. Preachers at the time were using the Bible to suggest that the King of England was placed there by God and that we should not be rebelling against God. Again, your entire argument here literally makes no fucking sense.